Did you know the United States Navy used devil boats to fight in World War II? They were patrol torpedo boats, or PT for short. They were offensive, small water vehicles that often went toe-to-toe with larger ships like destroyers. But the most surprising fact was that John F. Kennedy was a lieutenant on one of these boats and was on board when it was ripped in half. My name's Josh, and I share stories like this every week. During the Solomon Island campaign of World War II, the United States Navy PT boats were deployed to disrupt Japanese nighttime resupply operations, commonly referred to as the Tokyo Express. These Japanese missions used destroyers to transport troops and supplies through narrow waterways, particularly Blackett Strait, located between Kolombangara Island and New Georgia. On the night of August 1st, 1943, PT-109, the one Lieutenant Kennedy was on, was part of a 15-boat patrol sent to intercept Japanese destroyers moving through Blackett Strait. During the initial contact, U.S. PT boats launched approximately 30 torpedoes, but none struck their targets. After this unsuccessful engagement, boats that had expended their torpedoes were ordered to return to base. PT-109 remained in the area with two other PT boats to form a picket line in anticipation of a possible return passage by Japanese vessels. Due to the darkness and to reduce visibility, PT-109 was operating at low speed, using limited engine power to minimize wake and noise. At approximately 2:30 a.m. on August 2, 1943, a Japanese destroyer, later identified as Amiguri, emerged suddenly from the darkness on a collision course with PT-109. An initial visual identification was delayed due to extremely low visibility conditions. Despite an attempt to maneuver, PT-109 was rammed on its starboard side, forward of the torpedo tubes. The destroyer cut the PT boat in two, causing a gasoline explosion that engulfed the wreckage in flames. 2 crew members were killed in the collision. The remaining crew members were thrown into the water or clung to the forward section of the hull, which remained afloat temporarily. The destroyer Amiguri continued its course and did not remain in the area. After PT-109 was rammed and cut in half by the Japanese destroyer, the immediate danger of the crew did not end with the collision. Burning gasoline covered the water, debris was scattered in darkness, and 2 crewmen had already been killed. In these conditions, John F. Kennedy took immediate responsibility for locating and preserving the lives of the remaining crew members. Once the flames began to subside, Kennedy entered the water and swam repeatedly through wreckage and darkness to account for survivors. Rather than remain stationary, he actively searched the surrounding area, calling out and physically swimming to crewmen who had thrown clear of the boat. This process took several hours and continued until all living crew members were back together. By organizing the survivors around the still floating bow section of PT-109, Kennedy reduced the risk of men drifting away or becoming separated in the night. During this period, one of the most serious challenges was the condition of Patrick McMahon, who had suffered severe burns during the gasoline explosion. McMahon was unable to swim effectively on his own and faced a high risk of drowning if the group attempted to move. Kennedy ensured that McMahon remained supported and protected while the crew waited on the wreckage. As daylight approached, it became clear that the floating wreckage could not keep the crew safe indefinitely. The whole section was slowly sinking, and no friendly patrols had appeared. Recognizing that remaining in open water increased the danger of exposure and detection by Japanese forces, Kennedy made the decision to move the crew to land. He identified a small island about 3 miles away as the nearest reachable refuge. After reaching Plum Pudding Island, the crew found no fresh water and limited food resources. Over the next 2 days, they subsisted primarily on coconuts and rainwater. Due to these conditions, the group decided to relocate to another nearby island, which offered better prospects for sustenance. This required an additional swim of several miles. During this period, attempts were made to signal passing Allied vessels from nearby channels, but none were successful. The crew was eventually discovered by Solomon Islands Coast Watcher scouts, who were operating in support of Allied forces. But without a way to send a message, the option for communication was very limited. What they decided was to carve a message into a coconut shell, which was then transported to Allied command. Following receipt of this information, a U.S. Navy PT boat was dispatched. The surviving crew members of PT-109 were rescued several days after the sinking and returned safely to their base. The loss of PT-109 was recorded as a combat incident resulting of enemy action. The survival and recovery of the crew became one of the most well-documented PT boat incidents of the Pacific War. The event is preserved in U.S. naval records and museum archives. Kennedy's actions during the rescue, particularly his responsibility for crew accountability, evacuation decisions, and assistance to injured personnel, were cited when he was awarded the Navy and Marine Corps Medal for heroism. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. The next video is right here.